other companies aren't doing. I know what we are doing, which is one, putting the customer first and having the customer experience be as exceptional as possible.
Michael, thank you so much for joining us. Super excited to hear from you about your journey, about your business, and we're going to talk a little bit about, I think, customer care, right?
I think we should focus on customer care and leadership when it comes to dealing with
Leadership.
customers and e-commerce businesses.
Yeah, I'm super excited. So we're going to start off with a elevator pitch, hear kind of what your elevator pitch is, and then we're going to hear a little bit about your story, and then we want to hear a little bit about your company, and then we're going to talk about leadership. So go ahead.
Let's keep it exciting. So my name's Michael Fensterstock. I work with one of my closest college friends and teammates from Bowdoin College. His name's Zachary Linhart. And the elevator pitch on what we do is Linhart is a nearly 50-year-old high-end restorative cosmetic dentistry practice on Park Avenue in New York City with a second office in Greenwich, Connecticut. And leveraging that 50 years of high-end restorative dental practice, the Linharts came out with a full line of oral care products, toothpastes, whitener gels, nano silver toothbrushes, etc., all with the priority and prerogative of giving our customers the best possible oral care experience. Whether they're at home, at the spa, at the gym, traveling, we feel that your oral care is as important as everything else you put into and on your body.
Awesome, awesome. That's super good. So let's hear a little bit about you. How'd you get started in this? Tell us about your journey.
So, like I said, Zachary Linhart and I played squash, which is a racket sport, together at Bowdoin College about 25 years ago. And I have been launching e-commerce businesses for the past 15 years. Zachary and I sort of discussed this business while he was launching it about 10 years ago. And as of 2 years ago, I joined full time as the Chief Smile Officer, which is just a tongue-in-cheek way of saying I wear a lot of hats, whether it's operations, inventory management, dealing with fulfillment, strategy, communications, PR, sort of everything having to do with running a successful e-com business with various legs of the stools. And we can get into more about who we do business with and how we do business later in the podcast.
Awesome, awesome. Spend a couple minutes here and explain a little more about Linehart and what is that business in a little more detail, maybe.
So the business I run, Linhart, as you can see, established in 1979, there are two dental practices. One on Park Avenue, New York City, right across from Grand Central Station. The other practice I'm sitting in right now is in Greenwich, Connecticut, about 35 minutes outside of New York City. So these practices cater to anyone who wants the best in class service for their teeth, whether it's a cleaning, a full set of veneers, or anything in between. And as a result of dealing with thousands of patients a year, the Linharts wanted to give them a better quality product, right? Just like when you go to the dentist, you get your cleaning. Typically, you're given a plastic toothbrush and some toothpaste in a little sort of white, flimsy bag. And that experience just wasn't sufficient for the quality of care that the Linharts wanted you to experience when you were leaving their offices or when you were at home. So they embarked on a journey to develop the best in class toothpaste, which has a variety of cavity fighting ingredients like theobromine, which is a cocoa bean extract, xylitol, which is a sugar that neutralizes pH in your mouth. Bacteria thrives in a pH rich environment, and that leads to cavities and other issues in your gums and mouth and teeth. We use aloe vera, which soothes your gums and decreases inflammation. And then fluoride is another cavity fighting ingredient we have. So that combination of ingredients is called Linamel, like Linhart. It's the only toothpaste on the market that offers you that type of care in a beautiful package. Linhart has been called the Hermes of toothpaste. Everything we do is designed to not only feel great and give you amazing results when you're brushing your teeth or whitening your teeth or flossing your teeth, but also look spectacular on your vanity. So you're proud to have people stay in your guest house or your guest bathroom, or even just when you pick up your toothbrush and toothpaste at night, it's not a chore to brush your teeth. It's something that you shouldn't be enjoying.
I like that. I like that. Do you guys do different flavors and stuff, or you guys kind of have a one staple product?
We have one staple toothpaste for now. It's been tested with customers and patients from all over the planet. People fly in to see the Linharts from all four corners of the universe. And it's a light mint mixed with a little bit of anise, generally a flavor that most adults typically like. We've tested some kids' toothpastes. My kids want us to come out with a tutti frutti or marshmallow, and we'll see if we eventually launch that. Um, but some of our other unique products are our nano silver infused toothbrushes with dual length bristles to get underneath your gums in the right so that you can brush properly at a 45-degree angle in small circles away from the gums. And then we have a couple whitening products which are unique. One is our daily whitener gel. Super cool product. Is designed so that you don't have to change your routine. Because as you and I know, John, we're all creatures of habit, right? So when you develop the right habits and discipline, typically you're better off. You're going to save time, energy, and money when you develop those habits. And we didn't want to have people have to change their habits when they wanted to whiten their teeth. So we have a daily use whitener gel. Again, like I said, really cool product. I use it every day. You just put a little bit on your toothbrush on top of your toothpaste. You brush normally, rinse and spit. It will keep your teeth nice and shiny and bright.
Yeah, just like your teeth. You got nice white teeth, so
I
good.
appreciate
It's
it.
got to go with it, right?
You got to lead by example, right? If I had gross teeth, not only, excuse me, it's allergy season. Not only would it be
You're good.
difficult to market the products, but I wouldn't be living the truth to what we are, which is again best quality for your mouth.
Yeah, I like that. Well, let's talk a little bit about the business specifics. Who makes the product? Did you guys originally start making it kind of in-house, and then how do you guys scale with that?
So our toothpaste is FDA regulated because it has fluoride in it, so we have to manufacture it in the United States with an FDA regulated facility, and there are not many of them here in the States. Which is great because we are held to a very high standard relative to any microbials or any issues with every batch. Every single thing that we do is tested thoroughly and cannot leave the warehouse. Actually, cannot leave the factory to go to our warehouse until it's passed certain tests. Our whitener gel is also made in the U.S. Um, the only products that are not made here are our toothbrushes, which are made in South Korea, which we think has amazing technology, is able to
South
manufacture our.
Korea.
They make a great quality toothbrush, and then our latest product, which we're coming out with in hopefully 30 days or less, is going to be our floss made in Italy.
Wow, there you go, guys. Look out for the floss from Linhart in 30 days. I'm excited to hear about that.
Well, this is the first time that we're having to deal with tariffs, which are real, um, because we're importing this product from overseas as opposed to all of our products, X the toothbrush, which are all made here. So we haven't had to deal with these tariffs before, which may incentivize us to try and manufacture it here going forward.
Did you guys have a plan to do the floss before the tariffs with this company
We
overseas?
did. We did. We ordered the floss um, in 2024. Just like every product that we launch, it takes at least a year, if not significantly longer, to test everything that we think is good on the market, and then ultimately customize with ingredients, length, coatings, packaging. So we ended up putting in the order in the late third quarter 2024, way before tariffs were even on the table. So it's just something that we're going to have to deal with from a business perspective in terms of how we price things, whether or not we eat it, how many samples we give out, that type of thing.
Yeah. What country are you getting this floss from again?
Italy.
Italy. What are the tariffs on them right now?
It depends on what product you are using or importing, and there must have been 25 check boxes in terms of the ingredients and whether or not we're claiming organic and all these other options when you're importing with DHL or whomever you're using. So I think the end tariff is going to probably be somewhere between 15 and 20% on top of what we thought we were going to have to pay initially.
Yeah. And so you guys are just gonna eat it for now for this first batch that you already kind of ordered, and then you're looking to maybe manufacture it somewhere else, or you're gonna kind of see what happens with the tariffs, or you're gonna maybe increase the price on the floss. How are you gonna deal with this?
Since we've never brought it to market, we have to discuss internally how we're going to price it for our patients and then for e-com and also for wholesale. Um, Wholesale is clearly more difficult to make money when you're getting hit on your cost of goods sold. Um, it's going to be a premium price point, just like all of our products, affordable yet premium. Um, it is higher quality than other flosses on the market. It's in a 100% plastic free container. It's in a beautiful glass vessel. All of our paper is ideally recycled or recyclable. So we do make it and make a legitimate effort to have everything be sustainable. To answer your question more directly, how do we price it? Um, it's TBD, although I sort of had a price target in mind before we got hit with the tariffs, and we're probably going to stick with that and just eat the margin, eat the marginal margin that we would have been privy to prior to the tariffs, just because we don't feel like we need to pass on extra costs to customers.
Yeah. And then so if this like goes really well, you guys think you're gonna switch over to the US or manufacture it?
It's if in an ideal situation we would have made it here in the first place, but as a country we're not necessarily set up to manufacture products like dental floss in as high quality as say this Italian manufacturer. On the other hand, toothpastes and whitener gels, um, and other products that we're looking to launch, mouth rinses, mouthwashes, etc. We always try and go U.S. first, uh, as a priority of our business, as a priority of the Linharts, and we want to be able to trace and track where all of our ingredients came from, so that if there were ever an issue, we could get in touch with the manufacturer quickly and understand if there was an issue, why did it happen, and figure out how to avoid that going forward, as opposed to when things come on a boat from overseas, there might be other things out of our control that might enter the equation.
Yeah. Super cool. So you guys have a plan doing that. That sounds super fun. You got it manufactured mostly in the US for some of this stuff. Are in there making it, labeling it, and then you have your own warehouse, you said?
We do. We have our own warehouse here, just outside of New York City. That way we can be in charge of getting things out as quickly as possible. We customize orders. We have not used a 3PL to date. That may change in the future when we sort of outgrow our own capabilities. And we may or may not have to be more EDI compliant dealing with larger retailers, which we haven't had to deal with yet. But to date, we've been able to manage things in-house.
Do you guys do FBA as well?
We do.
Okay. So like what so you do FBA and then the out of your warehouse you do D2C and wholesale?
Correct.
Super cool, super cool. What's your kind of future goal? You guys obviously doing D2C is probably the most profitable. Is that your future kind of aim right now? What you guys are doing? You're aiming for more like hotels, I think you were telling me about, or Amazon.
Yeah, I think one of the keys to our success is going to be accessibility. So whether that means getting product into as many retailers as possible, that's sort of like many, many moons from now in the future. What I hope to accomplish is getting into more hands via the right businesses. So I love to do business with high-end hotels, as an in-room amenity in the spa, in the gift shop. Love being part of gift bags. Um, we really enjoy doing special events, weddings, especially when there's a dozen bridesmaids who all want really, really white teeth and don't necessarily want to go to an office for a many, many hour, potentially sensitive and expensive teeth whitening. So we have a full kit that will get your teeth significantly whiter very quickly in a healthy way at home. So just getting awareness via subscription boxes and D2C is a real prerogative for us. Amazon is ubiquitous. They are so reliable. I know that I get packages 5 to 6 days a week, whether it's a snack or more toothbrushes or whatever it is for the house. It again, being accessible is what customers sort of demand today. So if you're not in every CVS and Costco and Walmart and Walgreens, how else can you gain really good accessibility for customers? It's being on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So retail wise, are you guys already in some retail?
We're in a few hundred retailers, lots of Relais and Chateau hotels, Ritz-Carlton hotels, a lot of the high-end apothecaries across the country. Um, Although we're always looking for really, really great partners. We're in lots of really, really fancy casinos, in the spa, in the gift shop. Ideally, we're in more hotel rooms as an in-room amenity. We're in DOP kits or toiletry kits in high-end airlines. So whether it's British Airways or Delta or JetBlue or American, whatever it is, if you're offering the best-in-class service as a flight, as an experience, we would expect our products to be included with the other high-end products.
That sounds like such a great sales angle to get in. So when they see your product, it's not and the Walmart's great, but to have it on the shelf of Walmart, oh, it's just like one of the many toothbrushes, and that's what they think of. Oh, I saw that. That's a really nice package at Walmart. But when they see it like a really high-end casino, you're like, oh wow, this is the fancy stuff. And so how did you, obviously great angle to go that. How did you guys actually get connected with that to be able to put it in those high-end hotels, airlines, casinos, restaurants?
Thanks, John. Great question. So part of our brand strategy is not only to give you the best quality product that we can make, but also to have you experience it in a really fancy, great experience, right? So when you're going to a Ritz-Carlton and everything that they preach is about customer service and having an amazing customer experience, that's the same thing we want to do with all of our touch points. So when you open our box, we want it to be easy to open. We want it to be beautiful. We want you to be proud when you get our brochure. We want to use the best quality paper. We want our boxes to be really well made. All of our touch points as a brand should be the same experience that you would expect at a Four Seasons, at a Ritz-Carlton, at a Relais and Chateau hotel. And we want to help those brands elevate, right? Because typically, toothpaste, mouthwash, toothbrushes, this category has been ignored, and people will often just brush with whatever they have, right? They haven't been educated, or they haven't even thought about, wow, I'm putting this stuff in my mouth twice a day, every single day. And they're spending $300 on their skincare routine. They're buying organic. They're eating really healthy. They're using plastic-free nail polishes and hair gels and eyeliner and lip liner and lip balms and all these products. The mouth, I believe, has been ignored in terms of wellness. And as a healthy person and as an athlete my entire life, what I put in and on my body has always been a priority of mine, and that's where the Linharts and I completely are aligned, and that's where lots of hotels have um, pushed their messaging. So we do business with Canyon Ranch, which is a one of the best wellness resorts in the world. Everything that they do is about your wellness as a client, a patient, a customer, whatever they you want to call yourself, and treating people like they matter, so that every touch point is about your wellness and your well-being. It's not just a bunch of fluff, but like when you look at the ingredients and when you say, "Wow, who created this stuff? What am I putting in my mouth?" Well, there's 50 years of work behind these products that we make at Linhart.
Yeah, I love that. How do you actually get that connection to Canyon Ranch? How did you get in there?
Yeah, the secret sauce, the sausage making. I try and lead by example. I do a lot of trade shows. I try and network with people in the wellness space. Um, I try and invite people into our offices and experience what it is to be a patient of Linhart. So there's a variety of ways of growing your wholesale business. It's not easy. I constantly train every account that I have. I look at them as personal relationships. So I give my cell phone to everyone I do business with. It's on all of my emails. That means I get lots of texts and a lot today, significant amount of spam because my text is available on every email I've ever sent. Um, but that's a priority for me, right? If I'm doing business with you and I'm the client, I expect to be answered back to within 24 hours or sooner. So I treat people the way I want to be treated, and that's just a personal sort of leadership thing that I demand out of myself. And hopefully, I do business with people that treat me the same way I want to treat them.
Yeah. Well, that is a great segue into organizational leadership. How do you actually keep yourself accountable and are on track to be able to actually reply to customers?
It all starts with discipline. So, ever since I was a little kid, I learned about taking care of my body. I was diagnosed with Crohn's disease at a very young age. So, I had to learn about diet and health and nutrition and exercise and proper sleep and avoiding alcohol and other things that are bad for your body pretty young. Um, and so, I was able to just sort of implement some discipline into my life. And that carries through with everything I do. So I teach my kids, I teach everyone I work with, if you're not 10 minutes early to everything you do, you're late. That's what I expect, and that's what I try and do with everything that I do. So when I'm running, if I'm not 10 minutes early, I text someone that I might be 5 minutes late, even though I'm inevitably going to be 5 minutes early because that feels late to me. So it's just sort of having systems of accountability to myself, and as long as I'm true to that ethos, it rings through to everything I do.
Mm. I like that. Well, tell me more about leadership. What's some key stuff that you think that's really important that maybe a lot of companies aren't doing and that they should start?
I don't know what other companies aren't doing. I know what we are doing, which is one, putting the customer first and having the customer experience be as exceptional as possible. So if there's ever an issue with a product, we guarantee it. So we'll ship you a new product on us. If it doesn't work, which I, uh, there's a reason why it didn't work. So we have a conversation because I want to learn about how maybe the whitening was applied, um, to really understand. Maybe my instructions weren't clear enough. It's not the customer's fault that a mistake was made if I wasn't clear enough on the instructions or if I didn't give a clear enough video. So I learned from one of my mentors, uh, 7 or 8 years ago, who's a very famous entrepreneur, that the customer and how they understand things, they're always in the right, and whoever's delivering the message is in the wrong if it's not received clearly. So really, really trying to articulate better, write better and clearer, speak better and clearer. All of these things are critical to clear communication. And where I see lots of issues break down, whether you're getting your car serviced, your house painted, or you're running a business, is it breaks down in communication. And we think that we're communicating clearly, but we're not as a species. What my father taught me that the medium is the message, and he taught me that way before text messaging even existed. And when we're living on our devices and constantly distracted by the supercomputer that's in our pockets, we're not paying attention to the real world. And by having 2 to 3 word or 10-second spurts of thoughts that you're just throwing into a text and sending it off to someone, there are inevitably going to be communication problems, right? Emotions are misconstrued. You can't communicate unless you're at least doing what you and I are doing with it, which is a Zoom in person, and I can see your body language and you can see mine and see how we're reacting, and you're listening to the words that I'm saying, and I can see how you're reacting versus not seeing or not listening and being distracted, which is unfortunately sort of an epidemic that's happening today as a result of cell phones in our pockets.
No, yeah, that's awesome. How do you see like a ROI? Because like it's obviously so important to your business. There's a reason why the Ritz-Carlton is so like pushing for customer service. What kind of ROI do you actually see though? Because it's hard to see those kind of returns in the money like right away. But how do you measure your ROI for how much time you spend on a customer? Because obviously there's some people that are just gonna waste a lot of your time. A lot of customers are just gonna talk your ear off. Um, is there a limit? Is there a procedure that you have? Like, hey, we're gonna try to do the best customer service as possible up to this point, because otherwise, past this point, we're wasting time, we're wasting money, we're wasting resources, and there's actually not a good enough return for us to even spend time.
It's a great question. If you're proud of what you do and how you do it, there really shouldn't be any reasonable limit to what you do within the bell curve. So, the bell curve has its tails, sort of 10%, 80%, 10%. There are always going to be outliers, customers, experiences that are probably most memorable in those tails, that can be massively distracting. However, if you try to do, in my opinion, if you try to do the right thing all of the time, it's okay. Those distractions will inevitably wash out. And yes, there are customers that are unreasonable, and I try and cater to them as respectfully as possible, um, because everyone knows you have a bad day, and something happens and you take it out on the wrong person. Um, as a as a human, I try and be forgiving and understand that everyone's going to have a bad day. I want to try and make their day as good, as pleasurable as possible, right? So if I have to be the punching bag sometimes, that's what I have to be. I'm a business person. I'm a leader. I can take a hit. Do I enjoy taking hits all day, every day? Absolutely not. But that's what being a business person and leader, unfortunately, is about. And without taking hits, you don't really appreciate the good stuff.
Mm. Mm. What's the most important thing you've learned about leadership in business?
You can always improve. When I worked for Jay Walker as his chief of staff, he was the founder of Priceline. Um, he was always the hardest working guy in the room. He was always the smartest guy in the room, but never had to tell you that he was the smartest guy in the room. Irrespective of being the smartest guy in the room, he worked as hard, if not harder, than everyone else, always trying to get better. So you can always learn from mentors, people, leaders, former presidents, uh, people that have won wars, wars that are happening today, things that you want to strive to learn from and get better at. And the learning journey is never over. We have so much to learn and just an unlimited amount of resources to learn from today. It's really exciting, right? So even just using like ChatGPT or Claude or any of these um, mechanisms to become smarter it's fun and it's easy and it's fast. It's so much faster than it used to be to learn stuff. So you don't have to necessarily pick up the phone and call a mentor for a question that you can just ask, an AI service about. Or if I know nothing about coding, I can learn to code quickly from one of these services. It's really cool. If you're not hungry to learn, then it's difficult it's sort of your own fault, right? So as a leader, you got to take responsibility for things. Um, I always try and bring positive mental attitude, PMA, to a situation because there's plenty negative in the world. I want to be something positive that people remember. When people
Hmm.
remember, oh, who was that Michael guy? Oh, he had a huge smile. He always had great energy, and he did his best to make people happy.
He had great teeth and he sold toothbrush paste. That's a
It doesn't help. It doesn't hurt to have good teeth. Although I've had plenty of work in my mouth. These are my real teeth. They're not veneers, but as a kid, I had a lot of cavities and am sort of obsessive with my kids' teeth and my own teeth now because I know the pain of root canals and the hot tooth and all these other issues. So
hmm.
it hasn't been a smooth line my entire life.
Yeah, my mom's a dental hygienist, so I spent a lot of time in a chair with the, cleaning and deep cleaning. Uh,
Well, so you
but
can
the doctor,
appreciate it.
yeah, I appreciate it, but and she likes it. She likes to because you can't talk back, so she gets just to rabble along, tell you about everything for 30 minutes. But
That's why I garden. The plants can't talk back to me either.
yeah, there you go, there you go, there you go. Um, oh, I mean, even that even goes well with leadership. Talking to, I mean, totally off the book, but talking to plants or like those projects where like they talk to bad words to the grain to the rice in a box, good words to the rice in the other box, and the bad words for the rice, mold it up, and being a positive energy because that kind of goes to if somebody messes up, you as a leader, do you call them out, say, why did you do that? You're horrible, like this is bad. You're dumb for thinking this. That doesn't benefit anybody. Um, how do you go about that as a leader, correcting mistakes
Mistakes
from
happen.
people specifically?
Sure, they happen every day. Um, I try to ask questions. Why? What? First of all, what happened? Tell me your side of the story, because stories have at least two sides to them. And if it was, if the mistake happened as a result of negligence or intentional laziness or stupidity or arrogance, then someone has to be spoken to, and there's a message that has to be delivered properly. If a mistake happens because human errors happen, a fat finger, right? Maybe you can implement a system where that's not going to happen next time, right? Trying to hold myself accountable uh, to to a higher standard. Hopefully, the people around me will learn from that standard, right? And if they don't want to learn, then maybe it's time to move on from that person because you can't fix people, you can't fix problems within people. All you can do is set your standard and say, "This is how we're doing things at our company. Do you want to be on the ship with us, rowing the right direction, or not? It's up to you." And prove it, right? You're not leaving tomorrow, but let's see how you do over the next 6 weeks, right? Are you going to improve or not? It's totally up to you. I'm here to help you. I'll pack boxes if you need me to come to the warehouse. What can I do to help you get smarter, get leaner, get better at doing your job? I'm not going to blame you unless you continue to do the same thing over and over and over again, at which point you sort of have to say, listen, this isn't working. It's not best for the business. We need business first, right? With people always in mind, and you can't have a good business without having a great team. So building that great team, just like any great baseball team manager, you need all of the egos and people to work together rather than have shining stars that want the light on them.
Mm, that's good. What kind of resources do you give to your employees as a leader in the business? Do you have them read books? Do you have certain study material that you have them do?
We have a catalog of videos so that everyone understands what's in the product, why we have certain products, sort of the history behind them. We have brochures. I love to have conversations with people. I read a lot. I think a lot about customer service. Um, I go to conferences and try to listen to other leaders and sort of take away what I can and then share it with my team. I give them audiobooks, I give them physical books. I can't force them to read them. Um, it's not helpful to have like pop quizzes. I never liked pop quiz, but when you show people personal growth because you had experiences, you went to a conference, you come back and you're implementing some things that you learned and trying to implement positive change, hopefully it rubs off on the team.
I had a book that every like great mentor of mine has always said is How to Win Friends and Influence People by Carnegie. And and he says, you can't force people to read a book, but he said like for his company, for his board, that's that book that they read every single year. So he's like he's read it, 20 times by now. Um, tell me some good books that you think that people, if they want to better themselves listening to this, that you think they should read. Maybe like a top five or something.
Yeah, so Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. Absolutely spectacular. He ran 11 Madison, the number one restaurant in the world. Um, and when I recommended, I read it again, and I brought it to the Linharts, and I said, "This is amazing. This is how we do things." And Dr. Jan Linhart, the patriarch of the Linhart business and family, said, that's how I always do things. I always want to exceed expectation in terms of hospitality and give people the best quality experience that they can experience. That's one that I think is sort of uh, You got to experience it. And then I have a whole bunch of quotes on my wall. Man in the Arena by Teddy Roosevelt talks about um, rolling up your sleeves and getting in the ring and being the gladiator rather than like just commenting and hating from the cheap seats. It's like if put your money where your mouth is. So anything that encourages you to try new things and be adventurous and adventuresome and embrace the experience and not be afraid to fail, because that's how we learn as humans. Um, I love that whole category of book, of quote. I love things by Bruce Lee. I think, he's talked about um, the 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 quote is let me just bring it up here. So it's do not pray for an easy life, pray for the strength to endure a difficult one.
Mm,
As a business
love that.
person, as a human, I have not met any person where their line was totally straight with no hurdles in the way. There's
Mm,
always things that are going to be challenging and be difficult and really knock you off what you thought was like the perfect path. But if you're tough, if you have thick skin, if you're resourceful, then you're going to understand like you got to get back on that horse, right? So if my kid gets on an ATV because he's been talking about it and arrives right into the ravine, he's wearing a helmet, but he slices up his arm. I'm like, we're gonna go to the hospital. We're gonna get you stitched up, and next weekend you're getting back on that ATV. And that's the way I expect um, leaders and people who are winners to succeed. If you look at Kobe Bryant and Michael Jordan and Derek Jeter, like all my heroes, right? They achieved what every kid wants to achieve, right? The top of the game, multiple championships, leaders of the best franchises in sports history. They were the hardest workers. They got their butts kicked many times in their lives, right? They didn't make the high school varsity team, right? That didn't break them. It helped them get the courage, the strength, the charisma, the mental toughness to get back on whatever their proverbial horse was so that they could go be better and tougher next time. And that's happened to me many times in my entrepreneurial journey.
yeah, I love that. And I'm not a huge basketball knowledgeable person, but I think it was a Kobe or Jordan said or like had like the record for the most amount of baskets, but then they also had the record for the most amount of misses, which is just like, you had to have that so many amount of shots. The record for the most amount of misses and the record for the most amount of like out of everybody. So it's like it's not like, oh, I'm not going to do it unless I think it's a win. It's they were doing it, making the
Yeah, I
shots.
mean, Open by Andre Agassi, another phenomenal book. If you look at if you just YouTube Roger Federer commencement speech, he talks about he's the best tennis player ever to have lived. Uh, just one of the best talents in sports history, and he talks about the percentage of points that he won, which was like 51% of points. That means he lost 49% of points, right? So expecting to win, expecting greatness, expecting anything for me is not a positive way of approaching challenges. You can hope for greatness, hope for all the great things, and expecting a difficult journey, and just go in to whatever game you're playing prepared, and you prepare off court. And these are all, they're not literal, but what is your off court, right? What are you reading? Who are you talking to? I'm learning about I'm not a dentist. I went to business school. I talk to the hygienists. I talk to the dentists. I ask them, what do they do for their teeth? What do they do for coffee stains? What do you guys do for flossing? What do you think of these products? They all test everything that we're going to launch, and we don't chase trends. We only launch products that we believe in are going to really work well for your health, wellness, and your smile and everything that is about your teeth. Um, but it's important to sort of reach outside your comfort zone and ask questions that aren't necessarily obvious to you. And if you have a problem thinking of those questions, you just talk to ChatGPT and it'll tee you up.
Give me another book, and then I got a leading question for you. But give me another book that you think would be great because I love books, and I want to hear another one that you got.
Yeah, let me look in my most recently read. I really churn through them, and I take the lessons. I'm not great with titles, but like I said, Open by Andre Agassi, spectacular. I have all these Harry Potter works. I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan. The 4 Hour Work Week's been a bestseller for like 20 years. He's got a lot of great content. I listen to a ton of podcasts, Huberman and Ferris and the Odd Lots, and just trying to sort of stay on top of what's happening in the world. Obviously, there's been a lot of attack on fluoride since RFK came to power under Trump, which is neither here nor there. Our dentists believe in fluoride as a true cavity fighting ingredient with more data on it as a great cavity fighting ingredient than any other ingredient, including nanohydroxyapatite. There's the jury's out in terms of how much you should be using if you're using that type of toothpaste, what else it does inside your body. So really understanding like who is the source, what is the impetus, and what is the motivation um, for understanding things and being as well read as possible. I read the
Mm,
New York Times every morning. I do a lot of fiction reading too because it's a lot of fun. James Patterson is like one of my favorites, but that's just sort of beach reading stuff. But anything on competition, anything on war, anything written by former presidents, I think is really, really
yeah.
worthwhile.
I love what's a good history one? Because I love I mean I read Napoleon, um, Alexander, Hitler was actually surprisingly very good. Um, any history ones you like a lot?
Um, History, I think Steve Jobs's
Mm,
biography,
hmm.
really spectacular. I think it's called 1876. Um, one that sort of is a curveball is Your Brain on Art, which talks about how important art is and experiencing different types of media for your brain, right? So
Mm,
just doing coloring or just sort of doodling on a piece of paper. Um, Wasteland is a book I'm reading. It's about microplastics and um, A Poison Like No Other is unbelievable. It's about microplastics and how they're in everything. And I'm a conservationist. I'm a health person. Like I said, I've had Crohn's disease for 30 years. So I want to make the planet a better place. What the products that I make, I want to be proud of what they're doing for everybody that uses them, but also how they're leaving our planet. Um,
mm,
Extremely Online by Taylor Lorenz goes through the history of the internet and influencers, which are, it's a difficult thing for me to talk about. As a consumer product brand business person, influencers really help in terms of sales. But I'm not a huge fan of kids trying to be influencers as a career. I don't think it's sustainable. I don't think that most of them are adding tremendous value to the world. Um, and I think that uh, influencers can move the needle on certain products when people are just paying attention to like the end result and not really doing the work. So we don't work with tons of influencers because I have this sort of issue with a lot of them. Unless someone was truly into wellness, into the ingredients, into why we use our products, into how we use our products, and they were using our products before we even had a business relationship, because that's more authentic to me versus just paying someone that has millions of followers to go endorse your product. It's just not fair to the customer because they're not getting a fair shake at why do you use this product, right?
mm.
So that's a longer conversation.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, I got another question for you. So this one's a little weird, but I've been hearing it said a lot, and I think it's actually really important. Um, and the question is, what is the worst advice you've ever heard on leadership? But I know that's hard to answer because there's so many. But I think there's a lot of mistaken advice. People with good intentions try to give really good advice with good intentions, but they don't know what they're talking about. But what is the worst advice you've ever heard on leadership and why?
It's a tough question. I'm gonna flip it around. What's some poisonous words of advice you've been given on leadership?
Man, um, really like because that's such a good question, and I think one of the things that I was told a lot is work harder, put your head down, work harder. I think that's good, but I think that needs a little more direction. And a lot of people think that, oh, I'm just okay, I'm gonna keep just doing what I'm doing harder. And that's not how it should go. It's you gotta, if you're not changing it, you're choosing it. So if you're just doing the same, and the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting a different outcome. So it's not just do the same thing harder and harder and harder. It's harder. It's like, okay, I'm hitting a wall. Maybe I'll try it a second time. I'm hitting a wall. Okay, something's not right. I got to change it. And I've done like a lot of things. And one of the things that I did, because I love real estate, one of the things that I tried for a while was wholesaling, and like houses, wholesaling houses, locking down contracts, and then selling it to an investor, and that was really good. I liked that a lot. It wasn't as like enjoyable for me as I thought, but it was one of those people make a lot of money doing this, and there's a lot of people that don't make a lot of money doing this. And if you can call as many times as many people as you want, you can grind as hard as you want doing Zillow or whatever, knocking on doors. Um, but it's not doing the same thing again and again and again. I think that stuff, like I love Alex Hermanzi. I think he's a great business guy. He's very like do it again, do it again, do it again, which I think is good. But then it's also like at what point do you like you also have to tell them, well, also change how you're doing it. And I think that's some of the worst advice is people don't really explain the keep moving forward, I think is a better way to say it, but not doing the same thing again and again and again. And that's the same thing with content. People were like, I'm just going to post content, 10 videos a day, and you're not going anywhere. Well, it's like, well, maybe you got to change some of the stuff. I know I was a little rampant, but
No, that
but
was
go ahead.
that
What
was
do you think?
productive. So,
All good.
um, one, I got up awkwardly because I tore my Achilles 10 weeks ago.
Oh no.
Playing squash. I still am. I was very active before this injury, but that was a patient who just opened this cutting edge uh, spa experience down the street, and we're going to refer people back and forth. So that's sort of the
Oh,
perfect type
nice.
of relationship because we're a dental practice. We're not a spa. It feels sort of like a spa when you come in here, but dental when people go to the dentist, sometimes they get stressed out. So having a spa next door and it's leading edge, cutting art, really kind of human touch free, as opposed to having to have people on staff and do all the body work and stuff, which I'm a huge fan of as well. But it's fun to have them next door, and that was just a fun little segue. So sorry about that.
No, that's awesome. That's awesome. I think what we were talking about worse advice that you think people give and why.
I think the worst advice people can give is you're either born a leader or you're not. It's kind of like telling your kids you're really smart versus I'm proud of you for working really hard.
Mm,
Having a growth mindset is just that, it's a mindset. So if you think you're smart, if you think you're a leader, that doesn't necessarily mean you're willing to do the work that someone who says, you know what, I'm not that smart. I need to work harder or smarter. I'm not a leader. I wasn't born a leader, so I can't be a leader. Like, I think that's nonsense. And anyone can be a leader in any aspect of their life, whether they're trying to lead themselves into a smarter, healthier lifestyle or go get the job that they want, lead 5 people or lead 5,000 people. If you have a growth mindset, again, it's a mindset that kids are taught super young in school today. And I think adults need to be taught that too. You can constantly evolve, learn, and change if you're willing to do the work.
yeah. It's can you get it's one of those again, Alex Ramonzi, love him. Can you get better at leadership? If the answer is yes, then it's a skill. And can you train skills? Yes. So it's one of those like, yes, you have the ability to progress in this. And I
I,
think
I'm a,
that that's
I
great.
listen to a lot of Hermosi too. I think there are a lot of talking heads today that are like either super masculine, huge muscles, like very intense, or if they're female, they're like unbelievably sexy, no body fat, like
Yeah,
perfect
yeah.
figure. Like all of that is can be unhealthy for people
Mm,
to see all day, every day,
hmm.
right? On their doom scrolling journey to nowhere positive, right?
Right.
So I like people and leaders who don't necessarily have that look. I try and listen and see as many as possible, but just because you're not 6'4", 225 with 4% body fat doesn't mean that you can't be as popular as Tony Robbins, right? For example, I think he's amazing, but you should still give yourself the ability to have confidence if you are true to yourself, if you have the discipline to learn, to grow, and to fulfill your your best potential, whatever that is.
Mm, I love that. I love that. Well, awesome, Michael. Such a pleasure to talk to you. How can we hear more about you if somebody wants to get in contact with you? Somebody wants to learn more about your product? Give me some plugs.
Yeah, John. So I'm Michael at Linhart.nyc. Michael Fensterstock on LinkedIn. I'm available. I'm not going to tell the cell phone here, but Michael Linhart at NYC. I respond same day, every day, unless I'm having Achilles surgery. Then I probably respond within 36 hours. Because when you have an Achilles rupture, it's pretty brutal surgery. But yeah, I again, linhart.nyc is our website. All of our products are available there. We, I'm definitely going to send you a package. You can test it with your mom and see what she thinks as a hygienist. And I appreciate the time, John. You asked some great questions. Thank you so much.
Pleasure, pleasure, man. Well, I'm John Klein. This is Brandwidth. If you like this kind of stuff, subscribe. If you have any questions for Michael, reach out to him. The goal of this is educational, connection, stuff like that. Try out some toothpaste. Be a lookout for the floss coming out soon. So we're super stoked, man. I'll see you, Michael.